Today's workshop, today's seminar is about something so incredibly important, so fantastically positive that you just could not ignore the impact of what I'm going to tell you. It's called music. Now you can talk about music in a therapeutic context, but the context has to be in your mind, first of all. The intention has to be there. How do you want to alter your consciousness, change your life, create a new vibration, heal emotional wounds, change your experiences, experience ecstasy and bliss? Music in therapy. Back in 1968, when I first started my training at Philadelphia State Hospital, I was introduced to music in therapy by my teacher and mentor. His name was Robert Martin, Dr. Robert Martin. He led the entire therapeutic group, the training group, in a meditation guided imagery exercise, and he played music. What happened for me? It took me back into my past, into my early childhood, and I experienced myself in the living room of my parents' apartment. And I got in touch with certain feelings. At that moment, I felt something incredibly shift inside of me. And I knew we were onto something that was healing. I became curious. I became fascinated. Since I was in training as a mental health professional, I went home and I set the intention to experiment and do a lot of research. I began to gather a huge amount of music, and I listened very carefully to what my intuition and my creativity told me. It told me to pick out this particular piece of music because it would evoke a deep feeling and experience from childhood that was very, very important and that I needed to get in touch with. It gave me a piece of reality. So I started putting together this music. And before you know it, I combined it with physical exercises, and I would break into deep feeling. And my repression, whatever repression was there inside of me, began to melt away, and I got access to the deepest parts of myself. I was on to something, and I stayed with it. I became disciplined, and every single day I set aside the ritual to work on myself using music. And every day I would feel something different. It would take me back to unresolved feelings from my early childhood, even back to birth and before birth. Would you believe it? I found out that music as a therapeutic tool had no limitations. It had infinite possibilities. And the only limitations that existed were inside of me or inside of someone else. But music broke through all those barriers and put me in touch with enormous parts of myself, and I grew exponentially and emotionally. I grew interpersonally in my relationships, and also in my relationship with myself, my parents, and my family, and my neighborhood. My life changed because I used music in therapy. This doesn't negate the use of processing. I also had to use other tools. And before you know it, I started to accumulate clients. And we were using music in group settings and individual settings. And the changes that were taking place were monumental, absolutely fantastic. Now that's the therapeutic application of music in a deep feeling setting. Now there are other possibilities, there are other adventures that you need to look at because you're using music in different ways. First of all, you need to push your consciousness towards getting more involved with music as a change agent, as something that can bring out different parts of yourself. There's the need for entertainment. Every person needs to be entertained. If you're not in a context, a setting, or a relationship where the people are not entertaining one another, then there's the possibility that negativity sets in. Negativity is always hanging around somewhere, trying to gain entrance. It's like a snake in the Garden of Eden. But music works against that negativity. It's a soul soother, it's an emotional opener, and it's a healer. Music therapy, the professional side of it, is used in certain contexts and with certain populations. The populations that I have seen it used with varies all the way from extreme psychosis to neurosis to normality, to transcendence and to spiritual realms. In my training at Philadelphia State Hospital, I worked with a woman named Rhoda Russell. She was a movement therapist, and we would go into the ward with the most hardened psychotic criminals in the city of Philadelphia, and she would get these gentlemen, these people moving. I took her methods, her techniques, and I applied music to it, and I brought it into my own contexts. And with the people I worked with, we used movement, music. We even incorporated dance and singing and musical instruments. I can remember running a deep feeling group. There were dozens of people on the floor crying out their repressed pain, resolving their problems and reaching states of ecstasy and clarity. But there was one gentleman who got up in the middle of that group and he started to dance. An elderly gentleman. He used dance therapy to the music, and it started to heal him and his relationship with his wife and his children. He didn't have ready access to deep feelings, but he danced away his pain. He danced away his negative emotions, and he reached states of ecstasy. Now, I have practiced many different techniques for the human potential, personal growth. And I want to tell you, this morning I woke up and I decided to dance to my own music. I am also a professional musician. But I never thought of using the music that I play out professionally to dance to. Would you believe it? Every morning I practice meditation, self-hypnosis, I do stretching exercises, I go through insights, breakthroughs, new learning processes. Today I decided to do some dancing to music that I play on a saxophone. Europa, Samba Pati, a few other songs, and I began to dance. Instantaneously, I was in a state of ecstasy. I didn't have to meditate. I was in a musical meditation, a dancing meditation. You can meditate while you're walking down the street, while you're taking a hike, while you're climbing a mountain. Any setting that you put into operation, you can use as a transformative tool. Many of you, and many of the clients that I treat, go to concerts. A concert setting is where a lot of people come together and they experience something coming off of the stage and in the auditorium and with the audience. They dance, they jump up and down, and they go through a chemical reorientation. Something changes inside of them. At a live concert, I'm not saying this happens to everyone, and it happens to many different degrees, but the context is important. I treat many professional people who are in show business, in the movie industry, in the music industry, and they are extremely successful in their occupations and in their professions. But in many ways they have not used music as a therapeutic tool. They use it as a form of expression, and I'm saying that that's a very good thing to do. Maybe you need to get back to playing a musical instrument. Playing a musical instrument is therapeutic. Singing is therapeutic. It depends on the songs and the context. It keeps you centered, it keeps you focused, it keeps you in the flow, and you are in the now, in the present. You are not somewhere off in your mind ruminating and thinking about all your problems. You have been extricated momentarily to a world of music, and music does that. You can play an instrument, you can play a drum. I play a saxophone, my wife sings. It is also a relationship enhancer. We go out and play together. And I also incorporate the power of humor. Humor must be in your life. If you don't have laughter in your life, guess what? Your brain will start to go into depression and anxiety. Are you hearing what I'm saying? This has just been a brief introduction. But what I'm saying, Joan Rivers made it a point to write one joke every single day, and that was therapeutic for her. She was able to take that skill, that practice, that ritual, and put it on stage and entertain other human beings. She also got on stage and amused herself. She entertained herself. It helped her enhance her life. Now I'm also going to pinpoint, it depends on the context. There are many people who are doing music and end up taking drugs and committing suicide. I can't go into all the names, but I treat a lot of these people in therapy, and we're using music to help them get down on the floor and feel the feelings they have never felt before. They overcome their defenses and their repressions. And then they go out and they play music with a different mindset. And with a different mindset, they go out and enjoy it more. It's free of anxiety and depression. You know of the many horror stories that you've seen great musicians and entertainers go through, and they end up in rehab, overdosing on alcohol, drugs, cocaine, and they end up in institutions. Well, maybe you have to end up in an institution and go through a therapeutic music program, and maybe even a laughter program, and a humor program, and a dancing program, movement. So I'm recommending all these, and I want you to think about it. This will just be a first in a series of this, and I'll get back to you later.